Hey, it's Enigma Hood. I don't need an intro for this. It's just Bill O'Reilly acting like a fucking idiot. Let's just watch it and I'll respond to it.
Personal story segment tonight. Author Richard Dawkins is a committed atheist whose new book says evolution should be taught to every child, and faith-based beliefs like intelligent design are hooey. His book is called The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution, and I spoke with Mr. Dawkins a few days ago. Now, when we last left you, Mr. Dawkins, you were selling your book, The God Delusion, big bestseller, based on atheism is good, and those of us who believe are kind of sappy. Now, I want to show the audience the key part of that interview, and then we'll get to your new book. Roll the tape. I'm throwing in with Jesus rather than throwing in with you guys, because you guys can't tell me how it all got here. You guys don't know.
We're working on it. Physicists are working.
When you get it, then maybe I'll listen.
Yeah, well,
what kind of warped logic is that? To say something like, well, since you guys, meaning intelligent scientists, haven't figured it out yet, I'm going to believe in Magic Man. What a fucking dumbass! How stupid can you get?
I mean, if you look at the history of science over the centuries, the amount that's gained in knowledge each century is stupendous. In the beginning of the 21st century, we don't know everything.
All right, when you guys figure it out, then you come back here and tell me, because until that time, I'm sticking with Judeo-Christian philosophy. So now, tell me where I'm going wrong here. I believe in creative design. I believe in evolution. But I think it was overseen by a higher power because, as we just stated...
No, it wasn't. It was not overseen by a higher power because these things can evolve on their own. It has absolutely nothing to do with a deity controlling something. We can actually influence things on our own through selective pressure, through artificial selection, and we can see that things evolve through selection. What do you think dog breeds are? There is no higher power overseeing that. We were able to produce all different kinds of dog breeds, like Chihuahuas, Great Danes, Golden Retrievers. There was never any element of genetic manipulation during this. It was all done through selective breeding, as they call it, which is actually just artificial selection. It has nothing to do with God. In the case of natural evolution, it's not artificial selection, it's natural selection that's taking place. God has absolutely nothing to do with it. This guy is a complete fucking idiot.
And you acknowledged, you guys still haven't figured out how it all began.
There's a great deal that science hasn't worked out, and we don't know how it all began, but it's a most extraordinary piece of warped logic to say that because science can't answer a particular question, you're going to throw in your lot with Jesus, and there's no evidence that he did it either. You'll never get any evidence for any of them. Throw in your lot with science, which at least is working on the problem.
Well, here's the problem that I have with throwing him in a lot with science. Science doesn't advance the human condition in any moralistic way, and Jesus did.
It doesn't matter. Science has nothing to say about morals. It has nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant. Science is the study of the universe, how things work, observation, testing. It has nothing to do with ethics. That's a completely different subject.
See, my thesis is that if everybody followed the teachings of Jesus Christ, that we'd have peace on earth, love your brother, everybody love one another, and we'd almost be an idyllic civilization. Now, am I 100% sure that Jesus is God? No. But I choose to believe that because the man was so extraordinary, and what he did in his 33 years on earth still resonates to this day. That, I think, is more powerful than your belief that, hey, someday we might figure it all out, but in the meantime, we're not going to believe in any deity.
Why is he jumping around like he has a dildo up his ass?
Why would you muddle up the question of giving you a moral compass for life, which is important, with the other question, which is explaining the nature of the world, the nature of life, the nature of the universe? That's what science is about.
Okay, and I understand that, but I don't think that my belief system contradicts science.
Yeah, it does. If you believe Jesus was born to a virgin mother, then yes, it does contradict science, because that's impossible. You can't be born to a mother who never had semen inside of her to impregnate her. That's impossible. Okay? How the fuck would that work? Of course she was fucked by some guy. It's impossible for her to give birth to a child without having sex. How dumb can you be?
And I do believe that there is a higher power, and in my life, I can point to it. I see it. But what disturbs me about you guys, and I'm putting you into this category perhaps unjustly, is that you seem to look down on believers.
Well, I certainly look down on people that worship a piece of wood. Does that count?
There is a problem when you guys, if I could turn it back on you, try to say that because you believe what you do, because of a holy book and because of the way you've been brought up, therefore that entitles you to go into science classes and tell teachers what they can or cannot teach. You may think that God oversaw evolution, and that's a point of view that you could probably defend, but leave it out of the science class.
It's not fair to leave it out of the science class if the science class is incomplete. And you, by your own admission, say, we don't know how it all began. So if the science class is going to say evolution only, but I really don't know how it started, that gap has got to be explored.
No, it doesn't. Because whenever you posit a supernatural explanation, you're not doing science. You're doing religion. And the reason why it's not science is because it can't be falsified. The whole point of the scientific method is to test hypotheses. And it's not necessarily to prove them right. It's actually to prove them wrong. And if it's not proven wrong, then it's supported by the evidence, and we say that there's something to this, and then it's investigated further. But if you have hypotheses that is phrased in such a way that it is impossible to disprove it, then it is pointless to test it using the scientific method. And if it's pointless to test it using the scientific method, it's not science. By definition, it's not science. That's why it's not taught in science classrooms, because it can't be falsified. You know, theists usually use that argument, well, it's true I don't have any proof that God exists, but you can't disprove God either. That's exactly the reason why it's not science, because it can't be falsified.
You must see that it's quite a remarkable piece of illogic to say that because science can't fill a particular gap, therefore we have to turn to Christianity.
You don't have to turn anywhere, you just have to present it. You don't have to turn to it, you present it.
Present it? No. Well, what if I have an idea that the Earth is hollow? Do we present the controversy? I don't have any evidence supporting it, but you can't disprove me either because we have never drilled to the core of the planet. Prove me wrong. You don't present an idiot's controversy just because somebody pulled an idea out of their ass at 2 a.m.
Listen to me and stop shouting at me.
Well, turn your earpiece down. I'm not shouting. That's the way I usually talk. Go ahead.
Okay, I know it is. I've been warned about it. Just because science has a gap in its knowledge, that does not entitle you to turn to any other particular alternative. Pick on a better science.
No, that's fascism. For you to say that you can't mention
fascism.
Yeah,
fascism. Are you kidding me? Fascism? Well, you know, I can't take it anymore. I can't even go through the rest of the video now. I'm just going to end it here. I think his stupidity speaks for itself. What do you think?